From smoke pot to cash pot.
How we lifted this property by £63,500. Let's go check it out. So we're going to show you exactly how we acquired the property. We're going to talk about the bits that we did to upgrade the level of the end value of the property and some of the things that we might have done to even increase it even further. So, Walia, tell me a bit more about how we acquired the property in the first place.
So we bought this property for £66,500. Now, this was actually a grow house, so you wouldn't believe we got about 40 buckets or bags of soil that came out of the attic. The house wasn't in great condition because, it's just sucked up the moisture from it, and it's needed a full gut. So that's cost the client about £30,000 just to kind of renovate it completely to get it to this standard.
Yeah, so in this stage, it was a back to brick, so it's quite a heavy refurb. By the way, if you haven't seen already, we've also got a video that showcases exactly what the property was like in previous conditions, so going through when it was the weed house, but don't go and click away to that video just yet. Keep watching this video, go back to that later, and we'll link it down below in the description. So Walia, can you tell me a bit more about the makeup of the property, the location, what type of house is it, why you've chosen that type of house particularly?
So this is a 3-bed house in the town of Abertillery, just north of Newport in South Wales. It's a great area for rental because you've got lots of families, an extended family that want to live near each other. You've got a train station just down the road in Llanilleth, and you've also got lots of local amenities as well. So it's a great rental area that is sprouting, and we always have done well here in Abertillery. We've chosen a 3-bed because it kind of widens the reach of the market. So, you can have families here, you can have couples, etc. So it just means that it's a more rentable property.
So looking at this room then, you've gone first room, living room. What have we decided to do in this room?
So here, as you can see, it's, we've kept it very vanilla, let's say. And you'll see this is a typical trait in all of our properties that we do, is just your standard kind of replastered white walls that just allow someone to come in and put the stamp on it, but also with grey carpet. It's kind of a darker grey carpet as well, just to kind of make sure that there's a bit more longevity for a typical rental property.
And is it a heavier wearing, more like landlord based carpet? So we really like nothing like too high a spec, but something that's durable.
Yeah, that's it. So we don't want to go cheap, because you buy cheap, you get cheap, and you'll be replacing it every year. So we want something kind of medium level quality that will be harder wearing, and of course, will stand the test of time, because of course you do need to maintain a property or upkeep it, but we want to kind of prolong that as much as possible. Carpets can cost thousands of pounds, so we want to make sure that the investor isn't having to foot that cost every couple of years, as an example.
So you've gone for carpet downstairs. Is that typically what you would do, or would you put laminate downstairs? What's the usual?
Generally, I personally prefer to put laminate downstairs and then carpet upstairs, but the investor wanted carpet downstairs and upstairs, and I think that was a better cost benefit for him as well, because actually if you're just buying in bulk, then actually you saved a few £100 there as well.
So there's a couple of other things that we would have probably ended up doing as a suggestion to the investor, but they wanted to do other things. So let's talk about the windows first and foremost.
Oh yes, the windows. So yeah, you spotted that straight away when you came in. So typically we would always recommend having double glazing windows. This was single glazed on the front of the property and double glazed on the back. Now, I don't think that would have cost thousands and thousands of pounds, probably about £1,500, but the investor chose not to change the windows at this point of time. That's now going to affect the refurb and the EPC rating. He's aware of that, and I think what he's looking to do is accumulate some rent income, and then with that, he'll then, at a point in time, maybe in a couple of years or 18 months, he'll then look to change the windows then.
So the other part is that you've got top of the range radiators going in. So you got top of the range radiators, but it just seems a bit counterintuitive to have one and not the other.
Yeah, you said ironically, you've got a great radiator, but then it's all escaping through the window. So what's the point?
Yeah, I'm going to rinse it for that. But ultimately, it is the choice of the client as well. But obviously, as our professional advice, this is what we would do. So if it was yourself and you were looking to do the same, we would probably go for the double glazing in that regard. But it just shows that you can, at the risk of lowering the end value, and obviously if you're trying to get as much money back out as possible.
Yeah, it's a really good point that you make, actually. And yeah, by not doing that, it's affected two things. This isn't an EPCC, obviously, because you've got a great radiator, but then it's all escaping. So I think once the windows have changed, then there's an additional cost. So whatever it costs, about 500 quid or whatever it is to do the EPC check. So that's all additional costs that you're then having to foot later on. But you could have just done all of that at the start and then just forgotten about it. So, it's against our advice, but obviously we've flexed with the caveats that, it's going to affect end value, it's going to affect the EPC rating.
Yeah, and as long as the client's fully aware of that, I think that's kind of within their own, it's not based on the advice that you've given, it's not based on what advice we've given, but it is ultimately the decision, and obviously the client lives with that and dies on their own sword, essentially. I'm not saying they didn't die, but you know what I mean. Okay, so we were kind of contemplating whether to take this wall out.
Yeah, I remember you. I'm glad you remember that, actually. So let's talk you through it. So there's a couple of things. I'm going to talk about the two walls, the story of the two walls. I know we're kind of in a room and we're like, okay, white walls, grey carpet. What's so exciting about it? But every refurb has a story. So let's go and take a look at these walls and let's just explain to you the story behind it. So we were contemplating breaking this wall through, and actually I'm just going to go around and show you this wall behind the camera as well, because that wall came completely down, and we were going to also take this one down as well. So it was going to be a completely open plan kind of opportunity for the client. So it just widens the space. What we found was when we took the wall down, there were some structural challenges as well. And when we were looking at the walls upstairs, they were starting to crumble as well.
Oh, right, okay.
So the refurb actually grinded to a halt for about a week and a half once we got a structural engineer in to check everything through. And the advice was actually probably better just to have walls going up. It just supports it. They're not supporting walls. This one is, as an RSJ there, which is a strong beam that holds it.
Rolls for your choice.
That's it. So we would have had to figure out a solution to basically open it up but have a steel joint there that keeps the ceiling up together. But we decided against it based on the investor's view and the builder's view, and we've kept this room as it is.
Okay, yeah. So, damp in the other wall, was it?
Yeah, well, there was actually not a damp in this property because it just the
Absorbed all the moisture.
Yeah, the plantation, let's say, absorbed all of the moisture. So it wasn't a damp issue, because typically in South Wales we see a lot of damp. This was more of just the walls just crumbling because all the moisture had been sucked out of it. So it's a very different issue. But ultimately we thought best to remove the walls, and actually both of those walls have been rebuilt back up again.
So tell me a bit about the vent that we've got here.
Oh yeah, the story of the vent. So we actually explored removing this whole section here and just opening it up again, because that serves no real purpose. There's the gas box and all of those particulars underneath here. But actually, if we were going to remove this whole thing, we would have to start messing around with piping, messing around with, obviously this is a chimney breast and all those things. And when we start to look at the extra cost, the benefit of it just didn't stack up. So in the end, we ensured that the chimney was sealed and there was a vent there to ensure that there's no future damp that comes through. And they've just made sure that there's a bit of damp proofing there as well inside.
I like the brick effect though. Like ultimately, I think that's quite a nice addition. And yeah, I suppose it's a dead space, but you're not going to really. If it's a rental, you're not really going to spend the additional necessarily, really, are you? Because it's not going to. It's more like a personal preference thing than is actually uplift in terms of the end value. So it's understandable as to why not to do it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And so that whole analogy of every pound spent, you should get £3 back or something along those lines.
I think that's changed a lot now. Like every pound spent, I think that's probably dropped by a third these days. As material costs and everything has gone up, so it's gone up all significantly. So I think that's what I found is a bit of an old adage these days, isn't it?
Yeah, and what we found was by removing this and just kind of flattening it out, it's going to add zero to the value of the property or to the rental valuation. So why would you spend all that extra money? Let's just spruce it up and make it look.
Yes, makes sense. So let's move on to the next room and we'll talk a bit more about what's happening over there. So what's happened in this room?
So this room had Artex all over it. The walls were all kind of not in a great state. So we've completely stripped it back down, replastered the ceiling, the walls, and of course, we've got the fresh walls on this side as well that's been put up.
followed the same white and grey like tea as well. Okay, so let's move through over to the bathroom. As I say, the vertically challenged bathroom.
I mean, let's be honest, this is the perfect size for me, so I haven't got a problem with this bathroom.
Okay, let's go in. Okay, this has got to be the smallest bathroom that I've ever been in. Like, literally.
This is actually a good size for me.
Uh,
But, but this actually was an existing bathroom. We haven't made it a bathroom. So this was the bathroom in the house that was built in, and we've just refurbished it. So new tiling, floor to ceiling, bathtub, taps and toilet as well.
so you something like that through this, and yeah, you've got. I mean, like usually you wouldn't go to floor to ceiling tile, but you've got the room for it.
Yeah.
It's like half the price of a normal bathroom.
So it wasn't going to cost that much more to tile this side of the room. So it makes sense.
Well. Okay, let's go through to the kitchen.
Oh, before we go in, just want to mention, so we've gone for the slightly better quality doors. You can see that from the grooves. Again, the investor wanted just to kind of add the nice little touches, just to kind of get that, into a better rentable standard, but also help with revaluation as well.
Yeah, I think it does add to it, and usually the farm style doors as well. That's what we typically go for as well. Kitchen, where we really add the value to the property. Kitchens, we've seen the bathroom.
Yeah, so obviously, as you can see from the kitchen, it's all been retiled. We've got new chrome plug sockets in there as well.
Sort of like a metro tile.
Yeah, we tried to keep the grey theme throughout the whole house. So it's a slightly off-white kind of greyish colour. I would say a medium range kitchen, and then obviously we've gone for an electric cooker as well, and again that's because there wasn't a gas pipe in, and also the landlord wanted something that was a bit more safer than maybe a gas pipe coming in as well.
Makes sense. So one of the things I was on about was the truncation on it. So what's with the truncation?
Yeah, there's a lot of trunking going on, isn't there?
Yeah.
So again, to etch the walls out and then kind of tanking it into the walls probably would have cost a bit more money. So they felt that they would trunk it and then do the wiring through there. Again, it was against my advice. I would have preferred it all to be in the wall, flush, and that would probably made it a lot more nicer.
Tiling wise,
yeah, the workmanship's pretty decent. The tiles good. Obviously, it needs a little bit of a final clean before the tenants move in, which is already in plan. But it's just ready to go. Everything works. It's in good working order, fresh, new. The tenant who came to see it, took it straight away. They put the money down. They said, "Get it off market for me." And that was it.
So that's ultimately what we want, right? So
Exactly.
as long as you can rent well and that the demand is there, like you can't complain about that, really.
The investor has the confidence in the process. He'll then look to refinance the house, take his as much of his initial capital back out again, and he'll go for project number 2.
Yeah, amazing. Let's check the upstairs and see what we're going to go around with it. So, if I can remember correctly, the staircase had to be rebuilt as well.
Yeah. So I think half of the stairs literally, crumbling off. So we had to literally start again on the staircase. I remember my little legs wouldn't take me to the I needed a ladder to go up, but you did all right.
It was like halfway up as well, so it was quite substantial. So that's been rebuilt, by the way. And also, you had a bit of trouble with this wall, right?
Yeah, so this was one of the walls that was giving us a lot of trouble. It was a brick wall, and it was literally, if you just pushed it, the bricks were just crumbling off. So as part of, I mentioned earlier, getting structural engineering to look at the whole site to make sure that it's safe, this had to be kind of completely redone again as well. So it's all kind of back to brick, off brick's gone, and it's a stud wall that's gone up now.
Oh, okay. I thought the whole thing was going to collapse then. No,
no, it's safe. I trust the build team.
Okay, so let's go through to the next room. So, William, what's special about this room?
So in this room is the boiler room. Ta-da! Okay. Yeah, so it's not that sexy. But essentially, we had in our schedule of works, the boiler would be completely replaced. But what we found was when the gas engineer came, tested the boiler, it was only a couple of years old, despite it looking a bit shabby.
Yeah.
But actually it's in really good working order, and so we were able to save some money from the refurb costs by keeping the boiler as it is, and fully servicing it, and making sure that it's continued to work as it should be.
Amazing. Money saved there.
Yeah, money saved.
Investor must have been happy.
Yeah, he was very happy. He was very.
Let's go check the next room. So, Willia, just to recap, what were the numbers again?
So this house was purchased for £66,500. The refurb was only £13,000, and we're hoping to get an end valuation on this one for £130,000.
How much is it going to rent for?
So this is going to rent. It's on the market for 775. We were hoping to get 800, but it was just because of seasonality. We've reduced it by £25 to get more interest into the property.
And then it was snapped up straight away, right?
Yeah, there was lots of interest once we reduced the price. So again, from a rental perspective, it's about getting it filled, and then of course year on year that will go up incrementally with inflation, and so this will probably be rented for the next 5-10 years.
Amazing. So great numbers. The investor will recycle and move on onto the next property once he's ready to kind of cash out and everything like that. Sort out the additional little things that were left out of the refurb, like the windows and things like that. All good in terms of a day's work, right? Like that's what we're looking for. So the typical type of properties that we're finding, these kind of like amazing deals don't come around all the time. But when they do, obviously the idea behind a lot of people are challenging right now and saying, right, well, do I wait for like one of these amazing deals, or do I just buy? And a lot of people, I'll wait until next year, I'll wait until the year after, I'll wait a few years. What would you say to that?
So if you wait for the golden goose, you'll be waiting and waiting, waiting, won't you? So I built my own portfolio on just taking action. So yeah, there's going to be some that are absolute steals, and there'll be some that are good deals. And it's about taking action. And once you take that action, remember, we're investing in the long term. So whilst it probably is a good deal or an okay deal today, rents go up, values go up, and actually what was an okay deal for me 2-3 years ago, now that property is worth a lot more because the market value has gone up. And remember, we're buying in areas with a really good capital appreciation as well. So even if we did nothing to the property, so we bought it and did nothing to it for a year, we're seeing year on year it's going up by sometimes double-digit percentages as well.
So it's the old adage of time in the market as opposed to timing the market, because by the time you've done that, the person who's actually continuously buying could have bought two when you were still waiting to get your first, essentially. So there is the idea of this consistency, and the waiting for things to drop or go up. Those people tend to typically underperform the people who are consistent buying, and you're just a testament to that over the last decade of investing that you've had, right? So guys, if you have enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe. It helps more than you'll ever know, and it also allows us to keep doing these videos to show more people how to invest in property correctly so they can build their generational wealth and build the life they want. So I'll catch you on the next one.